Hey y'all, it's me. I'm back again. And that actually kind of surprises me because of how long it took me between the first video and this one to actually record something. But here I am. Yay! And if you're watching it, it means that here you are too. So, yay, even more yay. So, um, yeah, like, why am I back again? Um, because what I said in the first video is true. I really, really believe in the power of social media to create, or at least to support having the types of conversations that we can have, and maybe should have, right? And using all of the platforms at our disposal to say something that's worth saying, because there's a lot of people saying things that really, we may or may not really think are needed right now. And it is so loud and noisy and hard sometimes to really have a good conversation. So I'm like, okay, well, let's do this. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, it was pretty easy because like there is so much going on and a lot of topics that we could cover. But one of the things that really struck me over the past couple of weeks is the hashtag Me Too campaign, where women are posting their stories about sexual harassment and sexual abuse in light of everything that happened with Harvey Weinstein and now Bill O'Reilly and other, powerful men. And I think that's incredible, right? One of the things is it's probably been really eye-opening for some people, the reach and how many women really have experienced issues of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual violence. And I think I wasn't really surprised. And I think if most women are honest, they're not surprised. It's just kind of something you live with. And that's true regardless of your color, your size, what you look like or don't look like, because what I think is that mainly sexual harassment and abuse have to do with power and not really like attraction. It's just to exert power and control over you and make you feel, you know, protective or to violate you in some way. So I'm definitely not surprised by the reach and by how many people really have experienced some form of sexual violence. So I think, like we're really into hashtag activism now, where you see so many hashtags like pray for London, pray for Paris, the hashtag bring back our girls, all these different campaigns, which are great. Like I believe in awareness. I really like when I was growing up, they would have the minutes on TV where it's the more you know, where they would give you fast facts and things like that. And I really do believe the more you know, the more responsibility you have to do something with that knowledge. But I think sometimes what we think we're doing is creating like a movement by hashtags. And even if we create a movement towards what? Like, what are we moving towards? And so I kind of felt that way about the Me Too thing. I thought it was great and awesome. And I think it's important for people to not feel alone. So if that's what it created, was for women to be able to use their voices and to feel like they're not alone in it, I think that's great. But there are so many like social ills right now and so many issues and problems. And I think part of the reason that many of the kind of recurring social problems that we see occur is because even if we raise awareness, like we don't do anything with that, right? Like I think it's like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks after that actual campaign now, and it's kind of done, right? Like we seem to do our hashtag thing and then we move on, and it doesn't change anything and it doesn't really cause any kind of real social change. And so I asked the question, okay, hashtag me too, and now what? And that's really what I'm curious and what I want us to talk about is like, what are your thoughts on social media activism, and not just your thoughts on like, is it good or bad, because that's sure great, but really on what can we do and how can we move the conversation beyond just using a great hashtag and everybody feeling good at the end of it, or feeling really bad at the end of it, as the case may be, and being like, wow, life is a lot crappier than I thought, into something where it's actually productive and it's producing some sort of social change. And so I did a little research, because as a lawyer, that's kind of what I do, is research. And I'm also, like I said before, nosy, and I like to know things. And so this is a topic, I mean, in my practice of law, like I address issues of sexual harassment and done trainings on those and all of that. And growing up with foster children, which I haven't given you a lot of background on myself, but I did grow up with foster children. My mom actually grew up in foster care, and so that was something that our family did was have foster children join us. Saw lots of issues of sexual abuse and sexual violence. It was very much a part of our lives. So, but what do we do? Like, how do you change a culture? Because it really seems like we have a culture of harassment, and that's why you see like a systemic in so many women. It's not like isolated incidents. How do you change a culture? Because I'm fairly certain like hashtags are not going to do it. And so I was looking at an article. I'm looking down because I took notes. There was an article in Forbes called that was addressed to men. That was titled "How Men Can Make Sexual Harassment Unacceptable." And obviously, it's got to be a collective effort, right? Like people who are in power have to do their part. And by and large, at least with sexual harassment that occurs in like workplace situations or otherwise, men are the power players. And so one quote that really stood out to me was, cultures of harassment exist because individuals are not holding others accountable for poor behavior. And that's from Elena Love from Purpose Link Consulting. And that's true. Like we have these cultures where it used to kind of be like see something, say something, and now it's more like mind my business, right? Like I may say something on social media, but on the real issues, I'm not going to say anything. And I think that's kind of the problem, right? Is that we're not addressing the cultural issues because the people in power don't want to say anything because maybe it affects them, maybe it doesn't, but that's saying something brings some level of responsibility, and even acknowledging it brings a level of responsibility. So I was again like doing a little more research, and there's an article in Atlantic that was talking about ways to address these, and it had some ideas. And so I throw these out there as a way for us to start the conversation. I would love for this to be a back and forth in the comments, right? Where you give us, like, you contribute to the diaspora of ideas by telling us what you think. Like, what are some ways that we can combat sexual assault, sexual violence, and this culture of harassment, so that we can go beyond, hashtag activism of hashtag Me Too to really like now what? To changing something. And I believe we can. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here doing it. I wouldn't do what I do for work. And I just really believe in the capacity of us for change if we band together on issues. And so some of the ideas that they threw out, and I throw out, and like, tell me what you think, is amplifying female voices in positions of power. Like, we need more women in positions of power. And the women who are there, like, we have to actually listen to their voices. Because I know even for me as I'm a boss, hashtag I'm a boss, but like literally I'm a boss. And it's hard as a woman, right? Like your voice is, I am authoritative and all these different things. And even me, like it's a struggle. Male voices really have, they are louder and they have a tendency at times to kind of push yours down. And I'm someone who's like authoritative and stands in her power and all those things, but it's exhausting. And so we need collectively the help of men, women, and everybody to amplify female voices in positions of power. Men also have to hold each other accountable for dehumanizing and sexualizing and objectifying women. And that means like this locker room culture that we've got to, where it's like inappropriate jokes. I don't think most people start out from like being sexual harassers and abusers, right? Like it's the compilation of all the little things that build up to where it becomes really appropriate and okay, and not viewed as a negative thing to view women as objects. And if we're objects and not really humans, then you can do whatever you want with us, right? An object it doesn't have feelings, emotions, and you don't have like this duty to treat it well. And so I think there's a collective responsibility, particularly amongst men. Like if you hear inappropriate jokes or otherwise, or just women being talked about as their objects, say something, stop that. Like it's not innocent, and it does eventually have an effect. I think there's another thing is we all play a role in preventing sexual violence. It's not just women, it's not just men, it's both of us. Like we all have to, if we see something, say something. And that means women too, we have to speak out. It's hard and scary, and there's consequences. But if we really think and want to change our culture, then that's just what has to be done. And then the last one that I added that comes from like sort of my belief system is the golden rule. Like treat everyone how you would like to be treated. And if we're doing that, if we're treating each other, humanizing each other, then, a lot of these issues really should go away, and really calling each other to accountability to treat everybody as if they are precious and unique and important. So those are some ideas I have, and they're kind of simple, but I think that sometimes we complicate things, and we do that because it makes it so it's like, oh, that's too overwhelming. We can't do any of that. But I would love to. I would really, really love to hear your ideas on what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on hashtag activism? How, does it work? Does it cause any change? How does or doesn't it? And what are the ways that, if it doesn't, that we can move it from just being really cool hashtags where everyone like gets on board and it stays around for a couple weeks, and then everyone forgets about it and moves on to the new hashtag, to something where it actually effectuates change. And then finally, like, what are your ideas on ways that we can help to really like get at and eradicate and get rid of the culture that we have of sexual abuse, harassment, and violence? So I'd love to hear from you all, and ask it, subscribe, because I am actually going to do regular videos. I'm gonna try, and I would love for you to join in the conversation, because I think like we could really do something good and important here. So thanks.